In this lesson, we'll talk about using the transposed line to actually pose our models. So we used the transposed line when we went to move, to actually move pieces around, for instance, with the eyes. But using the transpose line will actually allow us to pose different parts of our model as well. The key to this is going to be masking. Now, we haven't really looked at masking up to this point. If we go back to draw, you can create a mask on your model just by holding down Control and then painting this dark mask on your model. And all that means really is that whatever we're going to do next is not going to happen on the masked portion. It's only going to happen on the unmasked area. If you want to unmask everything or modify the mask, you can just hold down Control. If I click in the canvas, you can see I can invert the mask. If I drag, holding down Control, it'll eliminate the mask. Okay. If I click while holding down Control and nothing's masked, it'll mask everything. Okay, so the way that we're going to do this is we're going to go to Move, and that'll activate Transpose, and then we want to use masking to dictate which parts of this model are not going to move. Now, before we do this, let's actually go down to a lower subdivision level. Okay, so I'm just going to hit Shift-D a few times till we're down to a lower level. And then I want to use the transpose line as sort of like a joint. So I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to click and drag from, let's say, the shoulder. And you can see if I just click a little ways, it gives me this sort of gradient between the masked area and the unmasked area. So now if you check, you can see the arm is the only thing that's unmasked. So now we can draw out our transpose line, let's say down along the arm. And then I want to make sure to go to rotate, because if we go to move, it's going to allow you to stretch this out, and we only want to rotate it like a joint. So we'll go to rotate, and then I can come in here and rotate this around. So I'll maybe rotate the arm back a little bit or down. And then if you want to come back in and do it again, we can use Control again while we draw out the line. And that'll allow you to mask out another portion, in this case, the lower arm. Okay? And that allows you to kind of pose things up. Now there's also a plugin, and we have some training on this, that if you want to start to pose more complex models, you can use the Transpose Master to do that. Okay, and again, if you wanted to add a little bit of a pose here, we could come in and kind of move this around. If you go to Move, you can see I can actually move that around, or go to Scale. You can see the Rotate is really the one we want, because it just corresponds a little bit more to like a rotating limb. And so that's how we can kind of think of this. So you can start to pose up your, if you wanted to pose like your finger, one of the fingers, you can come in here and just kind of unmask an area and kind of rotate this around a little bit. Maybe even coming in here and masking it out a little bit more. Control drag will get rid of the masking. Now we've posed, given him a little bit more of a pose. But if we go up to our subdivision level, you can see that all of our detail is still there. Okay, so all the sculpting that we did on that, all that's still saved within that mesh. But now we've got this asymmetrical posed up mesh with just his arm kind of moved. So you can experiment a little bit with the pose of the legs. You can experiment with the neck, although you'll have to use Transpose Master or move the eyes if you want those eyes to follow along. Okay, so now that we've looked at kind of posing up elements of our model using the transpose line, let's take a look next at adding an expression with layers. So what if we want to start to make modifications to this model, but we want to be able to dial those in a little bit better and turn those off and on and things like that. So we'll take a look at using 3D layers in the next lesson.